I'm going to be honest. Before our interview, and she might hate me for this, I hadn't the slightest clue of who Melissa St. John was. Other than seeing her picture on the poster we keep in the youth group room at Compass, she was a foreign figure to me. But I walked out of our meeting blown away by the absolute unit of a person that she is. From her countless involvements in community service, to the strength, poise, and grace with which she responds to adversity, Melissa's story is one to behold.
I mean, there are, social changes, always happen wherever, like you said, whether it be here in Florida or any other state. So I think, by our voices and making ourselves, know what I'm saying, making ourselves known and we had to fight back. We've had a long struggle of getting to where we are today. Obviously, people like myself and those who came even before me, like when you go back to Stonewall, it was like enough is enough. You have to fight back and say, listen, we're a people too, and we're part of this community state, whatever. And like for an example, a story one year. I was at Pride Fest, which was then held in West Palm Beach downtown on Clematis Street, and long time ago. And I remember entering the lineup, the parade lineup or whatever. So like there was a truck that came driving through with like 8 guys on it with like baseball bats, like yelling and of course yelling names and just being of course disruptive or whatever. And so we all decide to yell back, like for instance, they would call us fags or whatever. And so we would just say, "Oh, you know us." So that was our answer. So it was not a physical altercation between us. Okay. It was just like, listen, yes, we are, and we're here,
It begins with her birth in Pleasant City, Florida. She grew up an only child with her parents and other neighboring relatives, and was never afraid to be herself, even from a young age. Now, mind you, though South Florida was never as bad as Alabama, it wasn't quite California either. People risked their livelihoods, relationships, opportunities, and even their lives by coming out every single day. But it never fazed Melissa. She valued the support she received from her loved ones far beyond the malice of those who disapproved. This was especially obvious to her after she came out to her parents. They took it tremendously well and continued to encourage her in her endeavors.
Once I got of age around probably 16, 17 in high school, was the first time I was asked by my parents.
So you didn't come out; they sort of came to you.
Yeah, really. They asked me, and so the first time I denied it, I said no, and it was just a fear, I think, of what they were going to think or feel or react, or it was just kind of a scary feeling for me.
You never know what they're going to say.
Yes, exactly. And so some time went on, not very much time, and then I came to the point, I'm like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I have to be, who I am.
Yeah.
And I was not really ever a kid to go out, like when I was in school, I never went to dances, I never went to football games and stuff like that. Again, I kind of stayed to myself. But so finally, they did ask me a second time, and I don't remember how it came up or if there was some clue or something. They asked me a second time, and I said yes. And it was a very brief moment of, which I expected, the mom with the tears. My dad was just didn't really say much. And I remember getting really angry. And the only thing I got really angry about was my mom said, "Oh my goodness, what are the neighbors and our friends gonna think?" Yeah. Which now I get, because it's probably the first thing that, as a parent, they're going to come there because they're being selfish and thinking of themselves.
The neighbors can mind.
And I said, I don't care what they think, And I lashed back at her. I was like, and I never went, my mom and I were always like this. We never had fights or disagreement, I would get in trouble for stuff, but that's a child kid. But, so, I just really, I said, I don't care what they think. Why should you care what they think, And so there was a period of time that was not awkward. I did finally move out of, moved away from home and with a roommate the first time, which lasted maybe about a month or so, and then I found myself back home because I was like, this was a crazy idea to move out, and I, like I don't even know if I was working then. Um, and so I went home for like a month and left and came back out. So there was a little bit of time in between where, on my part, I kind of stayed away from the family or whatever. And my parents I would talk to, but it was not like, it wasn't like a everyday. So I eventually, we got through all of that. So just moving forward to today, it's a fantastic relationship.
As she grew older, Melissa was inspired by the love she felt and wanted to pay it forward for her community. Beyond this, she felt a responsibility to take a stand to the countless friends she lost to the AIDS crisis in the 80s and 90s. Her activism began small, participating in league with organizations like the Comprehensive AIDS Program and Mother Cupboard, local organizations founded to provide resources for those afflicted.
At one point, I was part of an organization called Mother's Cupboard, which was a traveling group of female impersonators, live singers, artists that traveled throughout the Palm Beach County area to various bars. And we raised money for the food pantry, which was located at the Comprehensive AIDS Program, known as CAP, which is now Found Care. And so we started this non-profit 501(c) called Mother's Cupboard. So as I said, we did various shows throughout the Palm Beach County area, raised money and food items for the food pantry at CAP. I've also been involved with, of course, Compass for years, and I am the official host of the Pride Fest here in Palm Beach Pride each year for the past, I think, 4 years now. I go back to when the AIDS crisis really hit. Then there were organizations like CAP that were around to help, which were all pretty much just kind of starting because, once the government did decide to do some, help, federal help or government assistance or whatever to help those surviving with AIDS.
A little too late, but it's okay.
Exactly.
Better late than never.
Exactly. Which, prompted ACT UP along these groups. So thank God for all those people that made that possible. But so I did a lot of caretaking myself. Like a majority of the roommates and the people that I lived with in the late 80s that were dying of AIDS, I actually took care of. So again, as a community, we came together to raise money to help those people personally, taking care of, taking to doctor's appointments, feeding, cooking for, whatever. So as a community, we had to really come together and, to get through that before, I think it's a lot, obviously it's a whole lot better now, because we have resources to come to. But so back then it was just, we came together as a community. I think going back again to during the AIDS crisis, that was very close to me. Like because what it did was it gave me the drive and the will and just the strength to get through everything, because I saw so many friends die. I really did. I took care of many of them right up until the last breath. I was like next to them or holding them or had my hand on them when they took the last breath or whatever. And so I took that emotion and turned it into strength. So that's what and why I think I've become so passionate about, giving back to the community and being this leader and this voice and this, that's this person that anyone could come to. I try to keep myself open.
Her drag career began soon after, and has since taken off in the 30-plus years it has had to blossom. She's come a long way from that night she put on drag and walked on stage at Kismet.
Years ago, when I was just out of school, I had two lesbian friends, couple, that I used to hang out with all the time. It was really kind of before I even went out to the bar, because we worked together. And so I met up with them, and this one evening we decided to go to, they asked me if I wanted to go to the drag show. I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, what's a drag show? And so they were like, oh, just come with us, you'll see, you'll see. So anyway, I went into this bar, which was at the time located on Southern Boulevard, and it was called Kismet. Long gone, long gone. It's right across from where the airport Hilton is now. And so I go in. Now, I had been to the bar, a couple of times before then. And so we walk in and I see these guys come out on stage dressed and doing these songs. And I'm like thinking, and I kind of started to recognize them, when I saw them without being dressed. And I thought, this is so cool. So I was like, so then moving forward a little bit, I had a friend who was an actor. His name is Ricardo. And he was going to put together a stage little production of Dreamgirls, because at the time Dreamgirls was on Broadway, big show, and asked if I would if I would. So anyway, we got through a few rehearsals, and unfortunately it fell through. It wasn't done. So then I started entering the talent contests. They were having talent contests, and my friends were like, well, you would be good at this. So I did. I took what I had bought. I went and did the talent contest, won the first try, which was,
okay.
I did, and I never forget, I did, was it Fame? I think Fame was the first drag song that I ever did by Irene Cara from the movie.
Since then, she's performed in venues across the nation and worked alongside big names like Eartha Kitt.
One of the highlights, I feel, of so far of the career was at the Comprehensive AIDS Program, CAP, was doing a big fundraising event at the Kravis Center downtown. And I got to work alongside and perform one of Eartha Kitt's songs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to meet her that day.
A little fancy.
Yeah, I got to meet her the day of, she invited us to watch her rehearse. We rehearsed, and then the night she had the show, we went over to the Rinker, which is now the Rinker Theater, and for like a after party, and myself and Erica Vogue, who was also big in the community at the time, and with Mother's Cover, we got to each do an Eartha Kitt song for her while she watched.
Something that stuck out to me, particularly when we spoke, was who she named as her role model in life. Though she had many causes worth fighting for, hearing that her grandfather was who she strived to be was definitely a surprise to me. But her reasoning was motivating and heartwarming. She recognizes the work that her grandfather had done for his community as well, as an activist who worked as valiantly as she does now. Since her start, Melissa has raised more than $1 million in funds for the LGBT community, and has appropriately been named the First Lady of Palm Beach in recognition. Her advice to the younger generations is to remember, keep the change going. Keep working your hardest, because now, voices are heard. Though the road ahead of us is a long one, the progress we've made as it stands is a testament to the importance of our work.